Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the second album from David Guetta, Guetta Blaster. For his first album, Guetta sounded like he was actually trying for once, having not really broken out yet, and like he actually had something to prove. Sure, he wasn't exactly the most amazing producer on earth or anything, he was still drowned in his influences, i.e. Daft Punk, but everyone involved at least sounded like they were having fun. With his follow-up, Guetta decided to fix the biggest weakness of his debut and try to cement his own identity outside of being a Daft Punk ripoff, going for shinier and more professional-sounding beats and including a lot less stupid, aiming for the charts as usual. It's where the David Guetta we know really starts to take shape. I mean, all of his album covers since have just been pictures of him, as if to one-up Aphex Twin by saying, yeah, you put your face in your covers in a genre that at the time was mostly anonymous? Well, I'm gonna pass myself as a producer who's trying to be a pop star. Well, emphasis on trying. The mug you see here looks more like a dorky douchebag at a party who you kinda want to punch in the face rather than a pop star. Yes, I know this is coming from the dorky douchebag who talks about dance pop producers from his bedroom in his parents' house, but come on, you were probably thinking about it a little too. The part about Guetta looking like a douchebag, I mean. Well, maybe also the part about me, but whatever. I suppose there are worse pictures he could have picked for his cover. But enough about that, let's actually talk about the music. Now, before I begin, I'd like to say the version I've been listening to is the US version on iTunes. So there are a couple of tracks missing from a different version replaced with just newer versions of his old hits. Love Don't Let Me Go is here in the form of a mashup with the song by The Egg, Walking Away, and Just a Little More Love is back as well in the form of a remix from Wally Lopez. Now, ordinarily I'd feel kinda ripped off that Guetta so blatantly recycled old tracks, but to be honest, they're still probably my favorite parts of this album. Walking Away by The Egg was clearly not intended for hit-making, and yet it works perfectly with Chris Willis' vocals. Actually an improvement on what we heard from the debut. And Wally Lopez's remix of Just a Little More Love is also a big improvement from the original as well, with way more satisfying and driving production, so I guess it kinda evens out? Yes, he rehashed old tracks, but at least he brought in better versions. Made better by people other than Guetta, but, you know, still better. Now, there is still the rest of the album to talk about, coming from the usual Guetta-Garage team-up from the previous album. Production-wise, I thought I did hear a step up at first, but then I realized that step up was called Wally Lopez. No, actually the production here is just on the same level as Just a Little More Love, just less stupid and less like a Daft Punk ripoff. And consequently more boring. I mean, they do still sound like they're trying, but they also sound like they're still working out of Guetta's basement or something. It's not exactly impressive big budget stuff. But that being said, there is at least some variety to be found here. They brought in some newer vocalists. For instance, a man by the name of J.D. Davis shows up here on two songs, The World Is Mine and In Love With Myself. Now, while Davis gives off the impression of being particularly self-absorbed, probably thanks to the lyrics and song titles, and when I first heard this album over a year ago, I thought he was insufferable. Though, coming back to it, I realized this In Love With Myself actually reminded me a lot of Depeche Mode, both production-wise and the sound of J.D. Davis's voice being pretty similar to Dave Gann on songs like Enjoy the Silence. So, that one's admittedly a grower, though The World Is Mine still does little to nothing for me. Other vocalists include Stereo MCs and Miss Thing on Open Your Eyes and Last Train, respectively. The former's a rapper who gives an extra edge to a fairly intense and driving track, and the latter sounds more than a little disinterested as she half-heartedly begs to get on the last train. Barbara Tucker this ain't. But at the very least, she makes for something noteworthy that adds to the variety of the album, I guess. But as you would probably guess, the vast majority of the vocals are handled by Chris Willis. Now, to be perfectly honest, Willis isn't quite as good as he was on the previous album. But he is still probably the best vocalist in the bunch again, actually sounding like he's having a good time on beats that do not really convey that as much. Well, at least usually. On the track Used to Be the One, he seems a little checked out and doesn't bring the same oomph that he usually gives. But he still gives his all on the others, sounding emotional on songs like Higher and Time, and sounding like he's having a great time on songs like Stay, Money, and Get Up, 3 of which are ordered both in earliest to latest appearance on the album and in worst to best. Stay is fun enough, I guess, but Willis is basically the only thing interesting about it. Money is more interesting thanks to the inclusion of some distorted guitars, which may or may not be real. Probably the latter, but it's a cool addition regardless. But Willis really throws it over the top for Get Up, easily my favorite track on the album, aside from the Wally Lopez remix of Just a Little More Love. Willis really put his all into it, and he sounds like he's really having a great time. And Guetta's beat, which like Money has quite a bit of maybe fake guitar work, is also better than average too. Now I should probably mention at some point though, while I do like Chris Willis, I might kind of be overhyping the guy as a vocalist. To say he has a personality would be kind of pushing it. He doesn't really have a distinctive voice that I could hear in some random song and instantly recognize. The reason I like him is because he believes in every note he sings, and he sounds like he's actually enjoying himself. Especially when you look at Guetta's more recent work. A singer who works with Guetta and actually sounds like they're having fun is a rarity indeed. And instead of Guetta bringing Willis down with his meh beats, Willis is bringing Guetta up with his passion and effort. He's not the best singer in the world, but God bless him, he's trying. I just gotta like the guy for how much he redeems listening to these songs in the first place. But when all is said and done, after I'm done listening to Guetta Blaster, the only thing I can muster to say is... Get Up is fantastic by Guetta standards, sure, but it's not a great song by itself. A good song, yeah, but not great. But the vast majority of this album really doesn't leave much of an impression on me at all. I'm probably not gonna remember what half of these songs sound like after it's all done. Like, Just a Little More Love is the product of somebody who really liked Daft Punk and wanted to make music that sounded like it. But this just doesn't have nearly as much passion put into it. Save for Willis, as usual. I don't feel like my time was wasted by this album, but I can't honestly recommend it either. It's just meh. Just straight average in basically every single regard. That being said, it's at least a kind of meh that's relatable to a dance music nerd such as myself. The scene that Guetta was a part of then was much more interesting than the one he's a part of now. Although yeah, comparing it to his newer stuff might not be totally fair. That's a matter of what kinds of dance music I prefer. As it is, it's serviceable enough for what it is, just nothing particularly worth bending over backwards for. By Guetta standards, it's great, but by the standards of ordinary dance music by people with talent, it's just okay. I'm overall feeling a 6.3 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.